guys, we got this great clip from one of our long content videos. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Enjoy. All right, so let's talk about advantages to minimum wage jobs. First of all, minimum wage jobs allow you to get on-the-job training. So employers will use minimum wage jobs to hire young and inexperienced employees so that they can teach them a skill set. So you use this minimum wage job as a way to learn a skill set so that you can move up to higher wages. And so that will be a theme about everything that I talk about throughout this and throughout most of our content. I encourage people to be entrepreneurs, and I encourage people that once you have a skill set, if you're working for a minimum wage job, to make moves often and to start your own business. I mean, that's what this channel is all about. So that's the context with the lens with which I look at things through. So hopefully that connects with some of you and it will resonate. So number two, the second advantage of minimum wage jobs is that it will reduce poverty, right? So hopefully minimum wage will be used in a way that it lessens the wage gap, right? We are in this strangest of times in this world where the haves and the have-nots are just getting further and further and further apart. And again, this channel, we're about getting outside of the rat race, getting away from these minimum wage jobs and getting into something where you have more control of it. You have financial freedom. Maybe you're able to build wealth. So, but an advantage to minimum wage is that it does reduce that have and have not gap, that wage gap. So you use minimum wage in order to set the bottom of the barrel, right? So that we don't have people that are working for below a livable wage. And hopefully that's a benefit to having minimum wage. So number three, then, it should also improve the standard of living for people who are employed, right? You have what you know as the minimum wage, and it's going to allow you to be able to have things like food and shelter and be able to afford to have a car maybe. I'm not sure that our minimum wage works that way at this point in our society in the United States of America in 2023. We'll get into that when we get into the disadvantages of minimum wage, but I'm worried that it's gotten so far out of hand with this recent inflation that minimum wage just can't keep up. And so that's one of the reasons why we encourage people on this channel, again, to be looking to move out of these jobs. But we'll keep going with the advantages. Number four, minimum wage will stimulate the economy. And I think this is true. So when people become employed, young people say, they go from living with their parents in school and they're not working at all, and now they become employed. And so even if they're working these minimum wage jobs, this will stimulate the economy because now the young people, they have money to pay for things like food and to go grocery shopping and to buy clothes, and maybe they're gonna buy a car or they're gonna rent a house and move away from mom and dad and get their own place. So by having these minimum wage jobs out there and allowing people to move into and learn a skill set, you're stimulating the economy. So those are 5 quick ways that minimum wage is an advantage or that minimum wage is good. What do you think about what I just said? Did any of those resonate with you? How do you feel about this, guys? Leave me a comment. Let me know what you think. And now, let's get into what we think are the disadvantages of minimum wage. And so I've got a few here for that as well. Disadvantages to minimum wage. Number one, minimum wage could prevent employers from hiring people that don't have the skill set. So while I talk about minimum wage as a starter kit job, as a way for you to learn a skill set, it actually could be the opposite of that. Because if you have to pay a higher minimum wage than established businesses or businesses that aren't established, they just can't afford to pay that higher rate. And when they can't afford to pay that higher rate, that means that they don't hire someone who doesn't already have a skill set. So it's going to lessen your ability to get a job because it just costs too much for the employer. So that's number one. Number two, with recent price inflation, employers, businesses, they have to figure out a way to maintain profit margins in order to stay in business. And so if you add on minimum wage or higher minimum wage to inflation, it can often put new, young, or starting out businesses completely out of business. It can just be something that's just, one step too many and causes businesses to go out of business, or worse, causes people not to go into business because they think that they just can't afford it. So that's a hindrance. That's a negative for the minimum wage. Number 3, and this is a big one, and I hear it a lot because on this channel, we encourage small business owners. We encourage entrepreneurship, and we hear often about the cost to starting businesses and to getting started and the profit margins being low and not being able to compete with the big business, the big box businesses, or the well-established businesses that aren't growing. So it's a discouragement to entrepreneurship. It's a discouragement to the starting of new businesses. Hey guys, thanks for watching that. Subscribe to our channel, watch this next, and then also check out the pinned content for more great content, guys. God bless.